Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to AMA LTL. This is Maria, and I will be your presenter today. As per usual, I am turning on my camera right now, so just let me know if you can see me and hear me. If you want to type yes in the questions box, if you can see me and hear me, that would be great. Awesome. We have a large crowd today. As you come in, please make sure you put your name so that I can see you as you come in. Awesome. Renee says she can see me and hear me. I'm not sharing my screen yet. Marla says can see. Hi, Marla. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Renee. All right, it is 11:57. We have 3 minutes to start, but I do want to hear from, if you are new to the AMA LTL community, I want you to please say where you are joining us from today, your city and state. Hi, Sandra. The faithfuls are here today. So please let us know your city and state and also your agency or your organization that you're joining us from today. If you are new to the AMA LTL community, please type your city and state in the questions box. What is going on? I'm getting all this. Okay, Marla, Library of Congress, Bowie. Yes, I know, Marla, we still need to get together. Renee is joining us from Columbia, Virginia Healthcare System in South Carolina. Great, great, great. Stephanie, great to have you. VA Mountain Home. We have a lot of VA people from Tennessee. Awesome. Kara is from Department of Education, joining from Fort Knox, Kentucky. Kara, what part of Ed are you with? Because Ed is our biggest customer. Jessica is new from Boston, and she's an MBA candidate at Suffolk University. Love it, Jessica. Great to have you here. Renee is with VA. That's right. Navy. Jay is with the Navy. Great to have you. Great to have you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now so that we can start on time. Make sure everybody can see my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? Okay, great, great, great. So I am so excited for today's webinar, for today's topic, because it's one of the things that I love to do, which is public speaking. I am not going to, all right, we're still getting people joining. We have 57 people registered for the webinar. We typically get about 60, 70% of the people come on. So it's going to be a large crowd today. So if you're just joining and you're new to the AMA LTL community, please, in the questions box, number one, make sure you can hear me, see me, and my screen. If you can't, please let us know in the questions box. And I believe Erica is on here. Erica will help you. Other than that, I want to see your where you're joining us from and your organization, so your city and state and organization. So we have Vicki Williamson here, who's the Detroit, Michigan president of Federally Employed Women. And this is her first time joining us. Welcome, Vicki. Great to have you here. Great to have you here. All right, so Latanya from Maryland, great to have you here, as usual. Okay, I'll come back to the shout outs, but I have my bio up here. I'm not gonna go into reading it, but basic thing is my background is organizational development. I'm an executive coach by profession. I'm also the managing director and AMA of managing director of AMA Consulting. You can tell I'm really excited today. I need to slow down. Oof, slow down. And I'm talking about public speaking today, and I'm breaking all the etiquettes about public speaking, so I'll try to do better. Anywho, basic things, like I said, I am the managing director and owner of AMA Consulting. I'll touch on some of our services and what we do as a company. We are a government contractor. I've been in business for going on 10 years this July, and I'll touch on our services, but my passion is really developing leaders. Part of the service that we offer is doing strategy work and doing a ton of training and leadership development programs, of which I lead a cadre of coaches and consultants, and we do leadership development. So this is really my passion. And We have the AMA LTL, which we do twice a month on a variety of leadership and management topics to help you build your competencies. So we have people who are on here and working towards SES, or people who are business owners and wanting to just continue to develop their skills to be effective and in their businesses or their business acumen, or some people who are just looking for for promotion or to be more effective in their teams. And so they join us on a variety of topics, and we do it from 12 to 12:30. So that's a little bit about the background. And this is our quick overview of our capabilities as a company. I'm going to pause for a little bit. It looks like somebody's having an issue with Jolene says, I can't hear any suggestions. Is your mic on? Erica, please, can you private chat Jolene Cook? She's having some technical issues, and support her, help her out, please. Thank you. All right, so yeah, Erica's on it. That's right, Erica's on it. All right. So let me just look really quickly in the chat box if there's anything else that I need to address. If not, we'll continue. Okay, she says, got it, sorry. All right, great. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me, see my video, and see my screen, okay? We'll make sure we carry everybody along. All right. So back to our capabilities as a company. As I mentioned, I started the company 10 years ago in the organizational development space because that is my background. And there we do strategy work. We do a ton of training. We do soft skills training, or what people, I prefer to call business skills training. Also, a lot of people call it soft skills training. We also do professional training like project management, ITIL. We're a PM RAP provider. We do a ton of PM trainings across several agencies throughout the government. On the business program support side, we do process improvement work, so helping offices, divisions, agencies do map out their process, redesign their process, especially organizations that have gone through recent reorgs. And it's like, okay, we pull this program from here and pull this program from here, and we made an office, but how do we make sure that all our operations are efficient? And if there are duplication of tasks across different programs, we rectify those things. We do quality, performance and quality management under business program support, as well as just supporting programs. As I was saying earlier, the Department of Education is our flagship customer. So a lot of the work that we do kind of centers around education, public health. We also do work within HHS. And then on the IT side, we specialize in accessibility. So we do a ton of things around document accessibility, assistive technology, web accessibility, and of course, the RPA, robotic process automation, comes as a result of a lot of the business process work that we do. And then so where we can use automation to create efficiencies within organization, we have the technology partners to be able to do that. So those are the capabilities that we bring to our federal customers. So we've done work with the Department of Education, FDA within HHS, Office of Minority Health. We do a ton of trainings within DHRA, Defense Human Resources Activity. We've done trainings for the Navy, for GSA, for DOL. So we are pretty much spread out in terms of training work throughout various federal agencies, both on the civilian and the DoD side. We are an 8A company. We're certified 8A. We're women-owned. We are also on the GSA schedule. So if you all have needs within your agencies, within your organizations, we want to make sure that you know that we have these services, this is what we do, and we do more than training. We also support programs, and we do IT support. All right, so now having said that, let's talk about what it is that we're here to talk about today, which is public speaking. So public speaking is a very, very important competency. I know it goes broadly under communication. And for the month of February in the AMA LTL, we are focusing on communication generally as a competency. So our next webinar in February is also going to be talking about communication, but more from a structural piece of communication. But today I want to focus on public speaking because this is a competency that's very critical for leadership. Because leadership is all about using your social influence to move people towards a particular purpose or goal, right? And one of the key ways that you do that is through speaking publicly. So beyond just communicating in writing or communicating one-on-one, public speaking is very, very necessary to gather people around a goal, gather people around a purpose, to communicate your vision, to let people know what it is that you want to accomplish as a leader. And when I talk about leadership, I always have to say this, leadership is not about a title. So some of you may be saying, well, she's talking about public speaking and I'm looking at things on the grand scale. Well, I'm just a team lead, or I'm not even a team lead. I just work, within a certain office, or, I support a certain program and I don't necessarily lead a team. You are a leader. At the very minimum, you should be leading yourself. So let's move away from the title and look at it in terms of what do I need to be effective in my role, and make sure that I'm taking ownership for what I'm doing and how I am presenting in my role. Okay, so what are some of the most common ways that we do public speaking? So number one could be to present new information, like that's what I'm doing today. Hopefully, I'm going to be presenting you with some nuggets, maybe some things you've heard before, but you hear them in a new way, or some things you've never heard before that can help you with public speaking. So that's one thing about public speaking, or one way that we speak publicly. Another way is that sometimes you're making a case for a specific outcome, and this could be in a staff meeting. So maybe there's a particular issue or problem that your program is having, and you have a solution, and now you've been given the platform in your staff meeting to present your solution, and you have to make that case. You're essentially making an argument. So that's another way that we speak publicly. Another way that we speak publicly is transferring knowledge. So that typically could be through training, mentoring. That's where you're basically transferring knowledge, essentially telling somebody what they don't know and helping them build a particular skill. So that's more long term. So if you're a trainer, if you're in the HR space, or if you're a supervisor, this is something that you should develop, because one thing that you should be doing is developing the people around you. So you should always make out time to ensure that you're training your folks, you're transferring knowledge, you're feeding them, you're developing them. Another public speaking, which is the one that people are most familiar with, is inspirational public speaking. So these are your motivational speakers. These are your Lisa Nichols. These are your what's the other guy's name that's really popular that do a ton of public speaking? You see a lot of coaches do public speaking, and this is very high level inspirational. These are like speeches that presidents give when they win, or political people give a lot of inspirational speeches. So these speeches are designed to get you to align with the speaker and to get you to start thinking more aspirationally, more loftily, and basically to make you feel good. That's what inspirational speaking is all about. And then there's the speaking that has to do with brainstorming ideas. That this type of public speaking is a little bit more technical, and it does require skills, and it ties into facilitating. So this is the type of speaking that you do, for example, when you are working with, say, a leadership team to come up with a strategic plan ideas, and you're getting them to come up with a plan, but then coming up with different ideas. They're brainstorming, but you have to work with the group to get them to a consensus. So this particular type of public speaking, and that also goes hand in hand with facilitating, requires specific skills. We're not going to delve more into detail. I just want to let you know like the different ways that we speak publicly. Okay, so any questions, comments, anything coming up for you as we're going through this? I just want to look through really quickly and see. I see you, but not your screen. I'm on my cell phone. Okay, Erica, can you contact Vicky Williamson as well? She says she doesn't see my screen. And so I'm not sure what's going on with that. So if you can help her with that, that would be great. Vicky Williamson, she put it on the questions chat. I'm sure you can see it. All right. So now, a lot of times, I'm going to go into tips for public speaking, but the biggest thing I think for public speaking that people don't realize is that, and I'm sure that you've experienced this. Well, let me back up a little bit. Have you ever met certain people who, like, that they don't really have the content, they don't know what they're saying, but there's something about them, and some people call it charisma. It's not necessarily charisma, it's leadership presence, but there's something about how they present themselves, something about their packaging. There's something about, you know, how they speak, how they connect with the audience, how they read the room, how they command the room. There's something about it that just makes people listen to them. And I'm using this particular example because, you know, when I worked at a little bit about my background, I came from government. So I worked at FEMA under what used to be disaster assistance, which is now called the Recovery Directorate. And then I went to work for SBA. But when I worked at FEMA, I was part of the National Disaster Recovery Framework. Then President Obama had just started, did an initiative to develop a national disaster recovery framework. As a country, we had a response framework to disasters, but we didn't have a recovery framework. And so this was like a big deal, and they will have a lot of meetings, and it was an interagency project. So even though FEMA was the head of it, but we had people from SBA, from HUD, from HHS at these meetings constantly, and then we were collecting comments from the public. So I was part of that team, and there was a young lady who, like, I worked with her very closely. And she wasn't like a, you know, she wasn't like a branch chief or anything. I believe she was like a GS 13 at that time. But there was something about her that once she walked in and when she had to present anything, or when, and it necessarily even sometimes will not be her own information. It could just be that she was just reading off comments from the public or reading off an article about recovery from a local a state or local official or something. The way she will read it, I mean, the room will be like silent. Everybody had their eyes on her. Everybody was paying attention. And I'm telling you, her presence was just so strong. Do you know that through just going through that, she got a lot of I would say notoriety. Yeah, notoriety. A lot of people took notice of her through that process. She ended up leaving FEMA and got a job with Mexico. She got the Mexico government hired her to stand up or support their entire emergency management ministry or division, just from working on the NDRF, National Disaster Recovery Framework. And just from, and it wasn't necessarily that she was the smartest or she knew everything about emergency management or recovery. It was just that presence, the way she commanded the room, the way she fielded questions from people. So I tell you this story because a lot of times when we think about public speaking and we think about even how we present in meetings, sometimes it's not about the quality of your idea, it's about your presence. And this is where we really need to develop this and we need to learn this. So I'm going to just give you some quick tips about leadership presence. And then after this slide, I do want to hear from you. I want to see if you all have ever encountered what I'm talking about or what you feel about leadership presence or if it resonates with you, because I think sometimes this is the missing link. We think, oh, some people are just generally very good speakers. No, this is something that you can develop. This is something that you can work on once you're aware of it. Okay, so what is leadership presence? Essentially, is the ability to influence people. It's the ability to influence people and environments in the direction of your purpose. So when you walk into a room, why are you there? Number one, you have to be clear on why you're there. You have to be clear on what you're bringing, and you have to be clear of what you want to get out of that meeting, that event. And what is your purpose? You know, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to communicate a particular point? Do you want to get people to buy into a particular idea? Do you want to engage with certain folks at a deeper level and then maybe follow up with them on some other things? Like, you have to be clear on that. But leadership presence is your ability to influence people and environments, not just people and environments. It's about affect. Leadership presence is what speaks about you before you get into a room. And it's something that you can develop through a lot of self-awareness, self-reflection, and also just noticing, paying attention, noticing and practicing over and over and over on your speaking and on your delivery. Okay, so like I said, it is intangible. It's not necessarily about charisma. Some people are more charismatic and more just generally more friendly and confident and more comfortable in a room full of people. And other people are more introverted. Believe it or not, I'm a very serious introvert. And people can never tell because they're like, oh, you speak all the time and you're such a great speaker. But it's as a result of practice, practice, practice. So I'm telling you today, if you're on here and you say, I'm more introverted, I prefer to talk to people one-on-one, I'm not really good with speaking in groups, you can. Okay, so it's not about that. It's not about whether you're charismatic or you're introverted or extroverted. It is about affect, and it starts from your mind. It starts from what you believe about why you're in the room, what you bring to the room, and what you want to get out of the room when you go to speak. Okay. Second point is you can tell when you have it and when you don't have it. When somebody has it, you can tell because when they walk in and when they're speaking, people pay attention. And when it's missing, they can have as many degrees as a thermometer. They can have as many accomplishments, but if they don't have leadership presence, you can tell that it's not there because they're not commanding the room. Okay, leadership presence is also about quick situational awareness. And what does that mean? That means your ability to go into a room. Yes, you've done your research, and I'll talk about tips on how to be a powerful public speaker, which one of them is preparation. But even sometimes you can prepare, but when you go into a room, something may come up. You may have a disruptor. You may have a naysayer in the room who wants to challenge you with questions. You may have something come up or something you didn't expect. So it's that quick situational awareness to be able to read the room, confidence to have eye contact and see whether people are engaged. You may have prepared your slides and you think your content is great, but in real time, if you're reading the room and see that people are not paying attention, people are, zoning out, and this is harder to do now that we're doing everything virtually, especially if people don't have videos up, but that's part of leadership presence, is that quick situational awareness to be able to pivot and adjust to the room. Fourth, leadership presence commands respect and acknowledgement of others. So one way for you to know someone that really has leadership presence is when people don't agree with them but can still respect them. So you see this a lot of time. Well, I don't necessarily agree with the point. I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, but I hear you. Then they've done a good job of using their influence to get you on board with your purpose. You may not agree, you may not follow through with what you're saying, but you respect their point because they've made it well and they were very effective. You acknowledge and you respect their point. Okay, so that's what leadership presence helps you to do. Also, leadership presence is about applying and using your emotional and mental resources correctly. Now, this is extremely critical because we're all different. We all have different tools. When I talk about tools, I'm talking about what was given to us innately in our personalities, as well as what was given to us through our trainings, our experiences, our job function, our family backgrounds, our history. Okay, so all of that is what makes you uniquely you. But it's not enough to just know what makes you uniquely you. Know your mental processes, how you make decisions, how you adapt to change, how you respond to the outside world, or your different emotional states. But how do you apply that? How do you use that? So, for example, one of the things that is very, very big is empathy. Empathy. Empathy is huge when you talk about powerful public speaking. This is what, at the end of the day, we're human beings. So empathy is a way that people connect with you. So people want to connect with you first before they can connect with your content. If they don't connect with you, your content may be great, but it's not going to land with the audience. Okay. So using your emotional resources to create that empathy, that sense of comfortability for your audience to connect with you. Okay. And again, all of these things, when it comes to leadership presence, it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you continue to practice, something that you continue to research on. The goal of the AMA LTL is I throw out a lot of nuggets and tools. We have a diverse audience. So different things will land with different people. But what I want you to do is just take, even if it's just, okay, how do I expand on my situational awareness and move that learning forward? Research more about that, learn more about that beyond the webinar. Or for another person, it may be, oh, I need to be aware of my mental and emotional resources so I can know how to apply them when I'm speaking publicly. Okay. And then last point, but not least in leadership presence, is that it shows up in your body language. People can tell when you're nervous. People can tell when you're unsure about your point or you don't really know your material because your voice will quiver, your head will be down, your shoulders will be slouched. So presence shows up in your body language, it shows up in your tone. Sometimes a lot of people are very forceful when they speak and you're yelling. For me, that comes across as you overcompensating and you're trying too hard. So there's a lot that goes into somatics, and that's body language is somatics. So it's your body language, it's your tone, it's your use of your hands. People are different, and you see a lot of comedians sometimes when they mimic people, they mimic certain hand gestures that people have when they speak, especially like politicians and stuff. And that's because your own hand gesture is unique to you, but you have to work it. You have to use it to work the audience. You have to be open. You have to be engaging. And all of that shows up in your leadership presence. I would say when it comes to powerful public speaking, leadership presence is the single key that makes the distinction between a okay speaker and a powerful speaker. And that is across the board all the way. I remember one time, we were working on a proposal for a project, and we had teamed with another technology company. And I felt that we didn't have enough of the past performance to go after the work, and so I brought in another company to partner with us. And then during the proposal kickoff, when that company CEO started to introduce herself and talk about their experience with the work, the larger company that I was working with, like they literally told me they weren't going to work with us because they felt like the partner that we brought, she wasn't very convincing when she was speaking. When she was talking about her company capabilities, she said she wasn't very convincing. She said, Maria, when you were speaking, like everybody was like, oh yeah, people were nodding and everybody felt like, oh okay, yeah, I can tell that this company can do this work. So I'm giving us another illustration, but this company was way more experienced than us. But in the meeting, they didn't present that. And so we were out of the deal. We were out of that work because we got a partner who couldn't present. So that is about leadership present, not necessarily about capability. So as a leader in your team, you may have the capability, you may have the great ideas, in the meetings, you may have the great suggestion within your team as a manager, but if you don't have the presence and the delivery, it's going to negate from your ability to influence people and to get people on board with your vision and your purpose. Any questions, comments about leadership presence? What resonates with you? Really quickly, I want to stop and go into the chat because I want to make sure that this is landing with you. Oh, that's another thing that when I go into tips, I'll talk about that. But you have to check in with your audience and make sure that your content is landing, meaning that it's resonating, that people are getting it. Okay, so questions, comments on leadership presence. You guys, please don't be silent on me now. Please, I want to hear from you. What's sticking with you on leadership presence? What is something that you're thinking, okay, that makes sense. I probably need to work on this or research more on this. Type your questions, comments in the questions box. Marla says sometimes anxiety gets in the way. I would say all the time anxiety gets in the way, but let me tell you a tip that somebody told me that I'm going to pass on to you. Excitement and anxiety shows up as the same thing in your body. So sometimes you think that you're afraid or you're anxious because you're shaking, your hands are sweaty, but it may just be that you are excited about this opportunity. So flip it in your mind and say, yeah, I'm feeling a little uneasy, but it's just excitement. It's not anxiety. It's in your mind. Once you flip it in your mind, then you bypass those symptoms. And everybody gets it all the time. Sometimes you're shaky, sometimes your hands are sweaty, especially in a big room. I remember pre-COVID, when I used to go out and speak at conferences, one particular one, I think the largest audience I've spoken to, it was about maybe 400 people, and it was a pricing conference in San Diego. And I'm telling you, like, I was sweating. I literally felt like I was about to throw up. And the stage was so high up. I'm like, I'm more comfortable when I feel like I'm in the room with people and I'm able to move around. But I felt so high up and so far away. I was like, Lord, help me. But I flipped it in my mind and I was able to, calm myself down and say, you know what, this is just exciting. You're just excited. That's all this is. Another quick tip I'll do, and I'll get up since I'm on video so that you guys can see, is a quick somatic exercise that you can do to center yourself just before you speak, and it helps take the nerves away. So all you do is just stand up, You stand up and you make sure that you're standing on a solid level ground, and you stand on your toes, and you just drop your body down. So you do that 3 times. It's very simple, but what it does is it helps to center you and calm you down. So you just do this 1, 2, 3. I do this all the time before I get up on the stage to speak. So quick, simple centering exercises can help with the anxiety and the fear. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And then Stephanie says, I appreciate the point regarding importance of situation awareness, reading the room. I tend to focus more on my experience as a speaker versus seeing how my message is being received. Yes, Stephanie, that's very, very important. You got to check in. And it takes time, because another thing too is sometimes you want to cover your slides. You're like, I have to get through my slides. I have all this information, and it's great information, but it only is great if the people take something away from it. Jolene says, I have heard this before, but how do you develop all of this? I've been told so many times that I'm not confident. I even had to do a doctorate dissertation. I always get this feedback, even do this in non-public speaking areas. So Jolene, that means that this is something a little bit more one-on-one. One thing I would recommend that you do is a Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment. Because it starts from you and it starts from self-awareness. So once you do that assessment and you understand your personality types, and then you can start to get tools from there to work on it. But it sounds like it's more one-on-one coaching to get you through some of those areas, okay? But I would recommend Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment. That will help give you a more robust look on your personality types and see the ways that you communicate, because everybody doesn't communicate the same way. I think once you settle in the way that you communicate, and then you take the areas of development and get some coaching on it, you'll be good. Okay, so Jessica says, what is one way to demonstrate empathy? Just looking at people in the eye. Very simple, just looking at people in the eye. You know, there is nothing worse than having somebody in front of you speaking, and they're speaking and they're physically there, but you can tell that they're not there, meaning they're not with you. And I think just a simple look in the eye says, I'm with you. Okay, again, this is harder to do virtually, but one way to demonstrate empathy virtually is to make sure that everybody is on board and you're checking in with the room. It's hard, like you see me now, I have to go into the questions box and check in and make sure that if there's anybody having technical issues, that person is being taken care of, so that we're not leaving that person behind. So that's a different way to show empathy in the virtual space. Empathy really hit a nerve. A lot of people made a comment about empathy. So a lot of comments on the empathy piece. Vicky says, Gossip, thank you, Maria. Good, always looking to improve my skills. Okay, we're not done. I still have one more slide. I was just stopping here, but I have 1 minute. So let me just read the last question, and then I'll just go through the last slide. Vicky says, I'll be using that centering exercise. Great. Shamil says, there aren't always opportunities to present, speak to a larger audience. Do you know workshops, honing those skills other than Toastmasters? That's a good question. So I will tell you that the way that I really, really started to hone my speaking skills was I started doing trainings for the small business development centers. And some of you may have joined here today because the webinar is on their website. So for 3 years, I would go across Maryland, east, west, all over the place, training on a variety of small business topics, because I came from SBA. And so doing those trainings constantly is what helped me develop my skills. So just within your organization, are there some things that you're very good at that maybe you could train some members of your team on? It doesn't have to be outside your work. It can be part of your work. I mean, Toastmasters is great, but it's not, I don't want to say it's not real life, but it's not applicable. So look for things within your team. Tell yourself, you know what, I'm really good at this. If anybody wants to learn about this, I can put up a half-hour training, put your slides together, and then start to practice. Okay, so that's a suggestion that I have. Renee says, it's difficult for me to work past my anxiety when the topic is generally perceived as negative or punitive. punitive. I can tell there's not much buying in the audience body language. Okay, Renee, that's a good point. So this is a perfect segue. I'm going to answer your question, Renee, by me moving to my next slide, because this is what's going to help you with that question. So some quick tips as we close out. Number one, nothing beats preparation. And this is the answer to your question, Renee. You already know that your content is going to be a sticky one for certain people in the audience. Prepare for it. Prepare for it. Refine your language. Smooth out the language. Plan for objections and questions so you're not thrown off guard. Read the audience, find out. Again, use empathy, use your emotional resources. Even though they may not necessarily like or agree with everything that you're saying, find something about your audience that is positive, that you can connect with them or engage with them on that level first before you deliver what you know they don't want to hear. But you can't, that is all part of preparation. So a lot of times I do this when I have to give feedback, okay, to my staff, and it's not necessarily positive. I basically want to tell them that they haven't done something very well. I have to, based on my knowledge with them and also maybe based on research, if it's somebody new, I have to do some research and start with something that makes them engage with me. I first of all deliver that empathy before I deliver the content, which I know is going to be a sticky one for them. So preparation, preparation, preparation. Look at your content, look at the audience. Is there something that I need to change? Is there something that I need to shift? You don't want to be talking, for example, to a lot of, I remember one time I had to go do a leadership development program for engineers, flight engineers for NASA in the Armstrong Flight Research Center. I mean, I scrubbed that content over and over again because, these people, they don't want to hear about emotional intelligence, like that particular term. I had to find a way to talk about emotional intelligence in terms that will make sense to very left brain, cerebral people, engineers. They don't want to hear all these other mushy things like empathy. I probably wouldn't even use that word with them. Okay. But that's all about preparation. Use examples, stories, applicable case studies. When you're delivering, make it relatable, make it applicable. Check in periodically and make sure that you're landing. If you're not landing, that's fine. Sometimes it's just dry. Even with our AMA LTLs, like today, I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm seeing that the content is resonating with people, and the questions box is blowing up. But there are some topics that sometimes we don't get anything, and it's okay. It's okay. Okay. And then last but not least, keep it simple. Keep your slides simple. Keep the information simple. And again, sometimes people just take one piece of it. They don't, and another person takes another piece of it. So also be gentle on yourself. Practice, practice, practice. It takes time. I'm practicing every day. And sometimes it doesn't come out perfect. Sometimes technology can mess up and that throws you off guard. Sometimes you can get a real disruptor in the room, especially if it's in person, and like they're coming out for you and challenging you, and it's and there's nothing you can do. You just have to work through it, and if you stumble a little bit, take the lessons learned and do better next time. Okay, so that is my content for today. I'm still gonna take any questions. Renee says that makes sense. Appreciate the guidance. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Just want to let you know for upcoming webinars that we have scheduled. As I said, in February, we're focusing on communication. In March, we're going to be focusing on women in leadership because it's Women's History Month. And then that also ties in with workplace civility. Okay. And for those of you who don't have my contact information, this is how you stay in touch with us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn, go to our website, and email if you have any particular questions. And what we're also going to be doing is when we follow up with you. Vicky said I already signed up for the 2 in March. Great. Look forward to having you. What we're going to be doing is when we follow up with you, we'll send our capability statement so that you have information on AMA as a company. And also Erica, who is My chief everything officer is always on these webinars, and she's the one who sends emails back and forth. So I just want to give a shout out to Erica real quick. All right. Any other questions, comments? We are at time. We're way past time. I want to be respectful of people's time, but I'll stay on for another 30 seconds if you have any questions, comments. Questions, comments? Anything that wasn't clear that you want me to expound upon? Jessica, you're very welcome. She says, thank you so much for your time. Stephanie, you're welcome. I'm glad that this was helpful, and I hope you took something out of it that you can apply and develop on. See you next time, Jay. Nice to have you on. You're welcome, Shamil. All right, I think Sandra, thank you so much. Thank you. Always a pleasure, Latonya. Absolutely always a pleasure. All right, everybody, I believe that we are complete for now. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Kara, you're welcome.